I know that this is going to be an unfair question, but you have to choose.
Okay.
Who's going to be the next guest on Unscripted from QRS? Is it going to be Cyan or Q?
I would say, it is a hectic question.
I'm not going to make you answer that.
I can't do no small talk, no small talk. I'm not with the small talk. Can't be with the small talk.
Okay, so the Fringe on 5FM, Unscripted is what we do in this lovely little dungeon studio of the SABC. My guest today goes by the name of Ryan North. He is a multi-talented person in the Pretoria scene, as well as the South Africa scene. If you have attended an EDM / house / drum and bass / anything to do with electronic music in Pretoria, you will have attended a Ryan North event. Ryan North is also part of QRS, which is a group of DJs that has featured on 5FM before. And not too long ago, you would have heard Ryan's single Skyfall.
Yeah, that's the
which
one.
appeared on the Carl Kassem show. Ryan, welcome to Unscripted. Welcome to the Fringe on 5FM.
Thank you so much for having me. That intro is so good. I'm somewhat blushing.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so let's talk about who you are and what you do. You are a DJ, but you are also a producer as well. You produce music. So let's start with that, and then we'll talk about all of the rad stuff that you do at Rage and parties and QRS and the Click and that sort of thing. Okay, so the music that you produce, how would you describe the genre of music?
Yeah, I must say I'm very on the fence when it comes to tech house and techno. Okay. So I feel like I've got this nice little gap in between those two genres.
Okay, so the music that you are releasing at the moment, your most recent single, you said that you were working with somebody from Cape Town.
Yes.
So talk me through that.
Yeah, so how the project started was I was messing around and I had this idea, but I couldn't finish it. I just had a bit of writer's block on that particular project. So
Gotcha.
I sent it over to my buddy Castor in Cape Town, and he basically got it to a point where we could start working on it again, and we solidified the track and we sent it over to a label in Germany called We Are Freaks.
Okay.
And they signed it. It came out a couple of days ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's just talk about what you mean when you say that you had writer's block. So talk me through your process of producing. You sit in front of your computer with an idea, obviously. And then how does that work? What programs do you use? Like, what do you do? Like, how do you get vocals attached to it? Like, what's your vocal process? Sorry, what's your creative process, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so my creative process, I love to climb in not having an idea and nothing. So I like to open up the software. I use Logic.
Okay.
I studied at Copa, so we learned how to produce on Logic. So I've just fell in love with the software and I've always used it from there.
Gotcha.
But I always love to start with my drums. And from the drums, then I start adding my bass lines, and then I'll move to a synth. I always produce in a 16-bar loop. And then when I've got a solid idea, then I stretch it out, do all my arrangements and all of that good stuff, and then mix down and master.
And sort of, I know that sometimes tech house can be very long in length. Like
Definitely.
Yeah. Where do you say you fit? Like what's your average song length?
I would say between 6 to 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Got you. All right, so there's plenty of intro and outro to mix.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about your upcoming projects. What do you have coming out in the next while? Like what can we look forward to from the production element of Ryan North?
Yeah. So I finished up a song called Stars Align. It's a solo release,
Cool.
and then I've got another project in the pipeline that we've sent through to a couple of labels.
Okay.
So we're just waiting for a bite, and then there's actually not telling when that one's going to come out.
That's cool. But you got stuff up.
Definitely, working hard.
No, I like it. Okay, let's talk about the tech house scene in South Africa. Obviously, one of the bigger genres of music in South Africa, especially on the electronic side. You've been producing tech house for a very long time. What's the scene looking like at the moment? Like from an outsider's perspective, like what's grabbing you about the scene? Like is there new stuff coming out that's very exciting? New producers, new people. Like what's your vibe?
Definitely, tech house was definitely sitting on the backseat of the house genre, and having that influence of techno into the music, it's opened up, that merge of genres, techno and house. So artists like John Summit being the number one selling Beatport artist of this year, and the top 3 artists are tech house artists, and even our very own Kyle Watson. He just announced his Coachella tour,
yeah.
which is insane. A South African guy making tech house, playing on one of the biggest stages in the world. So the scene in the South African perspective, it's going strong. You know, there's plenty of events in all the different provinces, you know, mainly in Cape Town and Joburg. But yeah, the scene is there, it's rife, and the producers are hungry. There's great music coming out by a lot of the younger people. I'm talking about 18-year-olds that are still in matric, and they are making the best music ever just by simply learning off YouTube tutorials. So scene is there, the love for the music is there, and I'm very excited to see what happens.
I think that's what's exciting for me with this kind of genre is you can do it by yourself. You don't need 4 musicians in a room together. Like you can actually do it, and as you said, the scene in South Africa, especially house music, I mean, house music has been arguably the biggest genre of music in the country for the last decade, and with that comes these subgenres and okay, so the techno influence, where's that coming from?
So the techno influence is more coming not on the bass line. So if I could describe tech house in any way, it's house drums, house bass with techno synths.
Got you.
So it's loud, it's in your face, it's driving, it's groovy, and also sometimes melodic.
Okay.
So that's really where tech house is standing. Just that nice groove of both of those genres, taking the best bits of both of them and joining them together.
Love it. Okay, so let's talk international. You've just got back from Germany. How sick is Germany?
It is insane.
Yeah.
Like, I must say, what a culture shock.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I've never been overseas. So to go to a country like Germany, you know, as you step off the plane, it is insane.
Yeah.
Like, completely different.
What was crazy for me is, as you step off the plane, you walk into the airport and you want to buy a SIM card, and you walk into a shop and they give you a SIM card. Done.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's like, okay, in South Africa, you got to recur and do this.
Yes, yeah.
No. Okay, so let's talk about the music scene there. Were you able to go to any music events? Were you able to go to clubs, listen to other genres?
Yeah, definitely. You know, we were on tour with the Kiffness. Okay. So we got to go to 4 different venues in a couple of different cities, Hamburg, Berlin, Munich. So in each place, it's very different. But the love of music is there. Like, they go hard. Lots of beer. They love beer.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, when I asked for a double vodka and Red Bull, it's
They
like unheard of.
Yeah.
It's unheard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all about the beer there, and yeah, techno is a massive thing over there.
For sure.
So yeah, no, and you know, they're going till 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, which is very different. You know, at 2 o'clock, I want to be in bed.
That was the one thing that I couldn't get used to is during the week, there's no parties, but then on a Friday and a Saturday, you party until 5 o'clock.
It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned earlier that you are distributing some of your music through international labels. Why have you chosen to do that?
So the big reason for it is, you know, you got to look at the guys before you, and I like to always look at what Carl Watson did, because you know he's set out a brilliant roadmap of what it takes to go international.
Yes.
So it's all about expanding your music and getting more listeners.
This is his second Coachella.
Yeah, so what happened was he got booked in 2020 for Coachella, and then COVID came along.
Of course.
So he had to, you know, do that whole US tour all over again to get the traction for the promoters to think, okay, cool, he is ready for Coachella in 2023.
Yeah. Sure, that's interesting, because there's a bunch of international, well, I call them international, but they started in South Africa. The likes of Chi, the likes of Black Coffee.
Yes.
Carl's on that list now as well. Is that the goal for you?
Definitely. And you know, you look at a guy like Watson's catalog and the amount of work that he's had to put in to get where he is.
Yeah.
So that's where I am, you know, just trying to get the music, get the work done.
It's so interesting that you describe him as a tech house artist, because my idea of Carl Watson is like, you know, him and Timo ODV are on the same level.
Yeah.
It's like, it's commercial house, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And now where Carl's gone tech house, Timo's gone techno.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's very different, and just shows you how artists adapt their sound to, you know, be true to them as well as their audience.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's move away from the production side for a second. Let's talk about your eventing, because that's something that you do as well.
Yes.
You are part of QRS, and QRS is an eventing company with 2 extremely talented DJs.
Yeah.
DJ Cyan, who's been a guest on 5FM, and DJ Q, who, in my opinion, is one of the most talented hip-hop DJs in the country at the moment.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So you guys do events together.
Yes.
Events like Slushy, you've just done Rage together as well. Let's just talk about Rage for a second. What was it like being on tour for a full week?
It's insane, eh? I must say, when we were 18 and we went to Rage Festival, it was like no sweat. every night, having a couple of drinks, going to bed so late.
Yeah.
But now when we did it, being a little bit older, it was hard, I must say. Like, we could not keep up. But you know what Rage Festival has done, you know, the last couple of years, they've been under so much stress with the tourism industry. So for them to come back,
shut down was last year.
Yeah,
where it was just
twice.
completely boom, done and dusted.
Yeah, so unfortunately, you know, they had those two events that they put all this effort into. So, you know, coming back in 2023, everything's open again. They did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, look, my personal feeling is you've got to be safe, and I felt as though they were being as safe as they could have.
Definitely.
And to be shut down the way in which they did. I know that it wasn't just them in the industry that were affected like that. So it's good to see major festivals like that back up and running. Let's talk about the sound of the festival though. The lineup was insane this year.
Yes.
Nasty C, in the hip hop genre, then you've got, you know, Tom and Amapiano, then you've got tech, you've got all sorts of other genres of house. What kind of set did you guys end up playing?
You know, I've got a collab with DJ Q, and we go by the Click. We played an Afro set the one night to Tiger.
Cool.
And then at the Megadome, we try to go as big as possible.
Okay.
You know, festival vibes, bringing out the hottest tracks that you have.
Was there a little bit of EDM involved in?
You know what? There was,
Cool.
but it was mainly in the mega mix.
Okay,
so
cool,
before the headliner, they do this massive production show, just showing off all their skills with the kinetic sculptures and the CO2 cannons and the LEDs. So the production was next level.
Okay. All right. No, dig it. Okay, so festivals like H2O, we've just had, coming up, we've got Ultra. The thinking in terms of where the international sound is at the moment, what do you feel, what are people playing? If you could predict the future, like what's going to be the next sort of step in electronic music in South Africa?
You know what? And that's a great question. And the reason for that is, you know, guys like Fred again, you know, they've just came out of nowhere with these boiler room sets. So I would say we are moving more to you know, the happy, faster type of house music.
Okay.
You know, vocals is a big thing in that.
Yes.
And, you know, he collaborates with so many different artists.
Sorry, do you put vocals on your tracks?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
So I mostly use sampled vocals.
Okay.
But, yeah, one day I would love to get a vocalist in to get her to lay down, him or her, to put tracks, to put vocals on a track. It would be awesome.
Cool. We might have one or two vocalists that we can send to.
Yeah, maybe one standing right in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be sick.
I've done R&B and hip hop before. I've never done tech house. So
Time to do tech house.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. So back to the question, the idea of the international sound and that sort of thing. Do you obviously internationally especially, and I'll use the example of the States at the moment. Afro house, African tech house, and house music in general is huge at the moment.
God, it's blowing up. It's insane.
Artists like Black Coffee, Black Motion, they're playing these massive sets in the States specifically, and vice versa. We've got artists like Chris Lake coming out here.
I'm so excited for Chris Lake.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So do you think that we're still being heavily influenced by international standards, or are we influencing ourselves now as South Africans?
I feel like we're influencing the world. You know, you look at the European scene now, and it's all these guys making Afrotech. And Afrotech comes from Durban.
Got you.
Of all places.
Got you.
So now I feel like we've got a lot of influence. And you also look at Amapiano, or people like Uncle Waffles, who's also playing on the Coachella lineup.
Yeah.
And, you know, just their influence, and a lot of British artists are now making Amapiano, as well as US artists.
Yes.
So I think we've also got a lot of influence on them.
Yeah.
And in terms of their influence on us, it's, you know, they've got bigger shows than us. You know, they've just got so many more people in their country. So I think in terms of the music, we're pulling a lot of that, like looking at what they're doing in terms of their festivals and what music they're playing there, and we're trying to implement it here.
Got you. Okay. All right. Last question. Craziest gig that you played in the last couple of months?
Craziest gig that I've played in the last couple of months, it would have definitely been Slushy.
Okay.
Slushy was insane, and Rampage is also a good one.
3 for you.
Yeah, so the
4.
first Slushy that I played was in like 2018. I was in matric.
Okay.
And it started off as this commune party, and it's grown to what it is today.
Yes.
So, this is probably going to be my 6th Slushy now coming in Feb. But the last Slushy was just insane. You know, we spend 2 days, we get a patch of grass, and we spend hours setting it up and making it look pretty.
Turn
and
it into a complete thing.
Right, so to play there means a lot because we built it from the ground up, especially our stage.
Yeah.
So it was wild. I think we had a good 750 people standing at our stage.
Sick.
So it just felt amazing.
No, for sure. Okay, I'm going to ask you the final question on the Fringe, which is always, I'd like you to put together your Mount Rushmore of music. So if you could put 4 artists on a mountain, who would they be for Ryan North?
Okay, cool. So definitely Carl Watson.
Got you.
You can hear I'm such a Carl Watson fangirl.
Yeah, got you.
John Summit, Chris Lake, and Kate Renata.
Love it. Love it. Ryan North, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Good luck with not only the music production but also your events as well. I know that this is going to be an unfair question, but you have to choose.
Okay.
Who's going to be the next guest on Unscripted from QRS? Is it going to be Cyan or Q?
I would say, it is a hectic question.
I'm not going to make you answer that. Let's leave it there. Ryan North, ladies and gentlemen.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me, Mike.
Cool. Yeah.
This is 5FM.